Welcome to Lucky Dog Traveler's Kitchen. And today, folks, I'm going to be showing you how to cook Japanese rice because it's sushi night here and you can't have sushi without having delicious Japanese rice. And right in front of you, you see all the tools that you need. You need a bag of Japanese rice. You need a measuring device. You're going to need a colander strainer. You're going to need a spatula. You're going to need some sort of a pan to clean your rice in, and you're going to need a rice cooker. You can have a $200 rice cooker or a $20 rice cooker. At the end of the day, you're going to have rice. And you'll need your smartphone or other timing device. Now I know what you're thinking. Lucky Dog Traveler, why are you making this video about making Japanese rice? Well, I just want to show you that if I can make Japanese rice in my technologically challenged outdoor kitchen here in Thailand, you can easily make it in your fancy modern kitchen wherever you live. I also want to point out that the rice I'm going to be using, it's Japanese rice, but it's grown locally here in Thailand, and it costs about $2.50 US cents a kilo, or about $1.25 a pound. Now you may think that Japanese rice is a little bit complicated to make, and yes, there are a few extra steps, but I am going to be walking you through step by step and showing you how simple it is. The first couple times you make Japanese rice, it will be a bit of an experiment, and you will need to fine-tune it so that you can make it to the way that you like the taste, maybe a little firmer, maybe a little softer, and it will also depend on the type of rice cooker that you are using. Another thing to note is that with Japanese rice, since you will need to soak it and it's normally consumed at room temperature, I would suggest you start the preparation about 3 hours before eating time. How much rice you need obviously depends on how much rice you want to eat. You can generally figure that 1 cup of rice, that is 250 milliliters of raw rice, will be enough for about 3 people. However, since I only have 2 people that I am cooking rice for, I am going to be using 2 small cups, which will be equivalent to 2/3 of a cup of rice. Japanese rice needs to be cleaned. They put talc on the rice so that it does not stick together. I got a little bug in my water. We're going to get it out. So you need to rinse the rice about 3 times to get the talc out. And you can see as I rinse the rice that the water will turn milky color. Just gently tip your pan that you are using, and the rice will stay in the pan or in the pot and get most of the water out. You don't have to be a fanatic here. Put some more water in, swish it around again. Should get nice and cloudy. That's what you want. You want to get all this talc or whatever it is that they used to keep it from the rice grains from sticking together. Pour it out, so that's the second time. And you see, the rice doesn't come out. It's really easy. We're going to do it one more time. Again, this is rice, folks. We're not making a rocket to the moon. The water is pretty clear. Now, what I need to do is I need to remove all of this water from the rice. And there's a reason why we want to get all of the water out of the rice. And the reason is because you want to be as accurate as possible when you measure the water. So I've got my colander. No, it's a colander. And I'm going to put the rice into the colander. And now we want to get all of the water out of the rice. So I'm going to tip it back and forth, shake it around a little bit. And I'm going to keep doing this until I have gotten as much water as physically possible out of here, because I want to be accurate when I measure and add the water. The exact amount of water that you need naturally will depend on the brand that you're using and the kind of rice cooker that you have. I cannot take into account every brand and every rice cooker, but I can tell you that the general rule, the ratio is 1 part rice to 1.1 to 1.2 water. First, I'm going to put my rice in my rice cooker bowl. Each of these small cups is about 80 milliliters. I use 2 cups, which is 160 milliliters, so I'm going to add another 20 milliliters, which is between our measuring rule of 1.1 to 1.2 parts water. I have found that this is a good amount based on my brand of rice, my rice cooker, and my personal taste of how firm or soft I prefer my rice. If you are going to use 1 cup, which is 8 fluid ounces or 250 milliliters, you are going to need an extra amount of water to the amount of 0.8 to 1.6 ounces, right? Because 1 cup is 8 ounces of water, and you're going to need between 1.1 to 1.2 to your parts to your 1 part rice. So somehow you're going to have to put in somewhere between 0.8 to 1.6 ounces of water. How do you measure something so small? I've got you covered. 1 tablespoon is approximately 0.5 ounces. So you are going to need 1.5 to 3 tablespoons. I would suggest that if you are using 1 cup of rice, you would use 1 cup of water plus 2 tablespoons of water. 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of water as a starter. You will have to fine-tune the recipe, again, depending on the kind of rice you're using, the kind of rice cooker you're using, and your own personal taste. Now, I know the next thing you're going to ask me is, do I really have to soak the rice? And the answer is yes, you need to soak the rice, okay? How long do you need to soak the rice, lucky dog traveler? I believe, again, that depends on the rice brand that you're using. It depends on your particular water. But I think most important, it depends on the temperature of the environment that you're in. If you live in a very, very warm environment like I'm in right now, and it's going to be, let's say, 30 degrees centigrade, 86 degrees Fahrenheit, you can get away with having it soak for only 30 minutes. If you live in a cooler environment where it's more like 20 degrees Celsius, 68 degrees Fahrenheit, I'm thinking you probably have to let it soak for around 45 minutes or maybe even more. I can't tell you exactly because I've always made it in a very, very warm environment. But the general rule is 30 minutes minimum soaking time. The warmer the climate, the less time you need to let it soak. Colder the climate, the more time you're going to need to let it soak. The rice has been soaking about 40 minutes or so. Time to start our Japanese rice. Our rice has finished cooking, and I'm going to let it sit in the rice cooker for about another 10 or 15 minutes. And now we're going to fluff the rice a bit. Looks like it came out perfect. And I'm going to leave the top ajar a little bit to let it cool down. And I like to use a trivet too. Our Japanese rice is done. We are going to let it cool until it gets to room temperature, and then we can eat it for dinner. Our Japanese rice is ready to eat. Unfortunately, I don't have any sushi vinegar to make traditional sushi rice, but I find it absolutely delicious just as it is, and my salmon sushi rolls are going to taste just fine. Bon appetit! Thanks for watching. Tick that like button and subscribe to my channel. You can find Lucky Dog's life playlist, gardening playlist, and computer tutorial playlists from the links in the description below. See you next time!